not just regular one, 2, 3, 4 elevators. There was 4 banks of, I think, 4 elevators each or 2 elevators each on different levels of that building. So that's something to consider as well. Am I talking to myself again? Probably. As usual. Again, I think we lost Rick. Ernie, you still with me? We've lost Ernie. Look, I'm not saying that this is not possible. I'm not saying that, although I did and I have in the past, because I just refuse to believe that they would. This plan, I don't know. It would just take so much planning to do this. It really would. I'm not saying that it's not possible. I guess it is possible, but it's not likely that this is the case, is my point. Rick, are you back?
Yeah, I'm back, and I can say this. I'm not out there, and this is why I'm not going to do a show on it or anything, because seriously, I'm not out there to convince anybody one way or the other, to be quite honest with you. I just know that I believe something totally different now than what I originally believed. And I'm not, I don't like to think of myself as one to get over on easy. I'm pretty skeptical of things, and I really try to.
Ah, damn it. Here we go again. Skype is giving us a run for our money, ladies and gentlemen, this evening. But like I was saying, until Rick gets back or we pick Ernie back up or this call gets back together, I'm not saying it's completely out of the question. I never really actually said that. I just don't believe that the government would do that to its own. I don't believe it. I just don't. Maybe it's, I don't know. It's such a touchy subject. Is it possible? I guess it's possible, but you got to realize what it would take to do something like that. All those charges had to be put up ahead of time. All of them had to be put, and nobody noticed this. Nobody, not one single person noticed. Then you would have to say that these were put in at the beginning of the construction of the World Trade Centers, because for them to go in and place these charges in the time that they had doesn't make sense. We saw the planes go into the World Trade Center. There's no doubt about that whatsoever. There is none. I sat there and watched it live. I watched it happen. I saw the rubble. I stood on ground zero. I know what devastation was there. So to actually plan something like that, could it be done? Yeah, I guess it could be, but it would have to be such a wide swath of people involved to make this happen. That I don't know. The Pentagon now is another story. That could it have been? Yeah, I guess it could have been. Could we have been attacked and they didn't want to say it and they said it was another plane? Yeah, but then again, what about the plane that disappeared into that building and the people on it? Did they purposely make that plane disappear with everybody on board? I mean, to what end? Is my point. We're still trying to get the call back, but let me go into the chat room and see. Let's see. Aaron says, Rick, I can send you a link of CIA guy talking about false flags. All right. I'm a little behind here with the chat, so it's going to take me a minute or two to catch up here. All right, and that's Aaron says, I'm not saying it's gospel truth, but it's interesting. It is. If you talk about fact, but you have to have them all. You see, what bothers me about all of this is that people find stuff on the internet and they take it as gospel. They say, look, this proves it. It doesn't actually prove it, because you don't know where that film came from. You don't know if it's doctored. You don't. Most of us, everyday people don't have the wherewithal to say, oh, that video was doctored, unless it's really, obvious. The things that could be done with video today is amazing, especially 13 years ago. We've come so far in technology, and just in the last 13 years, that anything is possible. So I'm not quite sure that I believe my eyes anymore, if you see what I'm saying. That's my argument in all of this. Is it possible? Yeah, of course anything is possible. But you would have to, again, I'm going to go back to, you would have to actually believe that this was a tremendous conspiracy with hundreds of people involved. It wasn't just one or two people running around doing something, creating this thing. A lot of people had to be involved. You can't contain something like that. It's almost impossible. Look what's happening to this president today. Perfect example. What he's done and everything that's gone on and all the problems he's having with almost every one of his branches of government. People talk. People see things. People get fed up and say, listen, enough is enough. This is what happened. So to have a conspiracy like that contained so well that absolutely nobody saw, I mean, I got to say, I don't know. But I'm willing to listen, as Aaron says. And again, Andrew says, make up your own mind based on evidence. And yeah, and that's how you're supposed to do it, Andrew. But again, it's the quality of the evidence that people are showing. That's where I start to question. Now, if you can back up or have someone back up the legitimacy of what you're showing, now you've got something to talk about. Now you've got, instead of just pie in the sky, look at this, oh my God, that's what happened. Now you've got this is reputable, this has been tested and seen, that's been checked, this is real. Who's going to do that? Again, I don't know. But if you can start the argument that way, then people have got to say, wow, wait a minute now, hold on a second, and take a good look at it. Aaron, okay, look, took me a long time to believe things like JFK, a 9-hour BBC documentary sold him on it. Aaron says, Jay, it was a controlled demolition. I'd bet my nutsack on it. Okay. Wow, you're going to be talking in a very high octave if that ain't true, Aaron. Andrew says casinos were controlled demolition. And Aaron says, Jay, you've been lied to. Well, I don't know about lied to, but I sat through many, many hours of and actually living. I was in New York City. I lived there. I was there when this happened. So, I mean, I was there. That's all I can tell you. How do you explain to people arrested with demolition gear? I'd never heard anybody was arrested with demolition gear, so I can't say. Andrew says, no, in fact, the blueprint even mentioned a plane twice the size hitting them would do little damage. And so they thought. But these were not just, they were talking about little planes. They weren't talking about passenger planes. They never had passenger planes in mind going into a building. That's not, when they said planes, they were talking about small Cessnas, private planes, 8, 10, 12 seaters, not airliners. Okay, with tons of jet fuel on board. Okay, so we got to be fair here. Yeah, Rick, I'm sorry. We can try it again in a little bit. I've even lost Ernie. It says I'm still with him, but Ernie's gone as well. Amanda B. in the house. All right. Aren't the only 2 steel frame skyscrapers to ever burn down the World Trade Center? I'm sure some skyscrapers in China have been on fire for a week or so and didn't fall. Again, a regular fire in a building is not going to cause the molecular structure of the steel to change. Now, I'm not saying that steel, that they melted, but the explosion and the heat that was generated by the fuel actually denigrated the steel in some respect. I can't tell you exactly how, because I'm not a chemist. I don't know. But I can tell you that they were weakened. Let's see. Aaron says, Rick, you passed out 9/11 truth due to peer pressure. You don't want to come out and say it. This is how the game works. That's how they get away with it. All right. That may be true, Aaron. You know, it's said about the government and UFOs. Let's take that for instance. How this is a big farce. How they're really lying about it because people will believe the lies instead of believing the truth. Well, until somebody comes up with a picture of aliens landing on Earth or video of an actual craft landing on Earth and beings coming out of it, people aren't going to believe it. Although I think it's like 65 to 68% of the people in the world believe that they exist. You know, that's the whole idea behind subversion is to, you know, you tell the truth with some lies fed in or lies with a little truth sprinkled on top. Throws people off. So you may have a point there, Andrew. Dozens of people noticed there is a mountain of evidence. I would like to see that mountain, Aaron. That's all I'm saying. I would like to see that mountain of evidence. Because I can show you, and I mentioned this before, we've talked about this, and I've said it on the air many times. We had this discussion one night, and it got really heated. And someone says, I won't mention any names because you all know who I'm talking about, but I won't mention any names. Mentioned something about the steel and how the steel in the buildings just evaporated right in front of your eyes. There's video proof.
How do you know that?
How do I know what?
That the steel evaporated, that the steel weakened.
Because of the heat generated by the jet fuel and the explosion?
How do you know that, though? What is your source of that information?
Well, common sense, first of all, would tell you that in an explosion like that, with that much fuel, jet fuel, everyone knows what happens with jet fuel when it explodes.
I was hoping that was the answer you would give me, Jay, because did you know, and I don't know the name of the group off the top of my head, but there's a group out there, and it consists of 2,200 engineers.
Yeah.
And they're out there, I guess you can call them truthers. I forget the name of this group, but it consists of 2,200 engineers who say, no, the jet fuel theory and the weakening of the girders is not true. And they're out there trying to explain, from what I gather, they're out there trying to prove to everybody why this whole thing is kind of a hoax type deal. And why they firmly believe it was a controlled demolition. I mean, 2,200 engineers, Jay, to form one group to dispute that what we've been told this whole time with the whole weakening and jet fuel.
All right, and you know what I could say to that? How many engineers are there in the world?
Well, you're absolutely right.
But so I'm just, look. We could go around with this all night long. We really could.
Right. At the end,
at the end of the day, until I see absolute proof, verified proof, and again, how are you going to verify it?
But
I'll tell you the truth. I don't know.
You can't say that. You can't. You have not seen absolute verified proof that the steel girders weakened because of the jet fuel. You say that's common sense.
Well, no, I've seen it. I've seen and read. I can't remember where I was going to pull it up, and I can't remember where I saw it. But there is a whole. They're all explained. They make sense.
Okay. Well, and in my opinion, the 2,200 engineers, what they had.
Well, these are engineers with big companies that supposedly put this piece together that I read. I can't remember because it was that night I was talking about just a few minutes ago that we got into this discussion that I found it. I don't know where I found it or somebody told me where it was, but it explained just about everything, the heat and how it worked and the steel and everything and how, But again, I was so, well, we had this
but
problem.
But you can't take that for gospel, right?
Well, of course you can't because you don't know. I'm not a scientist. I'm not an engineer. I don't know. And everybody out here doesn't either.
I agree with you.
To say that it definitely happened, I mean, you can believe it if you'd like, and that's, I can't say anything about that, but to say that's what
that's what I'm trying to make you listen to yourself. You're trying to say it definitely, the steel girders definitely weakened.
Well, yes, because we know, I mean, any common sense will tell you that heat changes the well, we know this to be fact. This is a fact. Heat changes the molecular structure of steel. It does. It softens it. And then after a while, and at a certain length of time, it hardens it. So heat does